That doesn't do anything, by the way.
Oh. Ryan turned a knob on the mixer, and I thought he turned my mic off.
I made it look like I did.
No!
Yeah.
Welcome back to Unstable Discourse.
All right.
sir.
Okay. All right.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
I got it. Only took me 4 tries.
Yeah.
There you go.
I've podcasted before.
You got this.
It is me, Alex Seminary of Disc Golf Chicago, joined with Ryan Fancher of Unstable Disc Golf Gear.
Yes, sir.
Sean Callahan of Delwood Disc Golf.
Good evening.
Jason Callahan of Bag of Tricks.
Hello, everybody.
And we're joined by Kevin Derrick and Eric Savoie of Disc Golf Chicago.
Hello, hello. Hey there.
It's been a long time coming. I'm very excited to have you guys here with us. Also, forgot to mention, not forgot, but I delayed. I saved the best for last. Sheila, the Queen of the Canyons, is in the room. The Deucer is here. And I'll call it out. On the way here, I was finally getting a chance to listen back to the last episode. And your offering.
Ugh.
God, your deucing is just... I'm consistently... You always surprise me, and I'm also not surprised because I'm like, that's just what Sheila does. She's fucking awesome.
She's the number one of number two.
She fills the bowl.
Number one. That's so great.
I just did a post about it last night, and I was reliving it all night last night. It was great. So good.
Potential like contender for Facebook Post of the Year. That was such a great post.
Thank you, sir. Well, I only had half to do with it. She did the cool part and made the side-by-side. The reaction video, I thought, was
It was very funny.
very good.
Yeah.
Very good. The timing of it was
I had my hands over my mouth the whole time.
Yeah. And you dropped a couple F-bombs in the video that I didn't realize until I had already posted it and was like, oh,
Whoops.
well, that'll be all right.
I'm glad you shared the video though because
It's real.
Yeah, it's authentic.
It's very
yes.
real.
Yes.
your reactions were you were speechless. So for a listener on the show,
Yeah.
you didn't get how stunned you guys
Yeah.
were. But watching back the video, jaws dropped just for like 2 minutes straight.
Yeah.
Yep.
So funny. Anyways, the reason we're here today is we're going to talk about bringing disc golf to new locations, which is what Disc Golf Chicago has been up to for a while. Kevin and Eric are board members on Disc Golf Chicago, so you guys are the perfect people to speak about this. People who don't really know Disc Golf Chicago as like anything other than just another, like I think a lot of people think of it as a club. They probably don't really realize the amount of work that goes in. So we're going to cover some of that stuff, talk about things we've done and kind of where we're headed and how it applies to like the rest of the disc golf community. So it's going to be an informative episode.
Sure, but before we get into that, Eric, I have heard Alex say your last name at least 3 different ways over the course of this episode. So let's put that to rest. How is your last name pronounced?
Officially,
Savoie. Thank you.
Yeah. But people get confused because like there's so many vowels.
There's a lot going on there. Yeah, I saw it typed out today, and I get the confusion. But
it's French-Canadian. My grandpa's a Youper from Sault Ste. Marie.
Nice.
So,
Excellent.
yeah, a lot of people, they change the IE at the end to a Y. He kept the IE, so it should be Savoie. That's usually Alex's go-to.
Right.
So why is it officially Savoie?
I don't know. I got a pasty family. That's how it is. But I don't know. Maybe I should reclaim it one day. Be like, we're going to be Savoie.
Well, your Instagram handle is Savoie.
I know, man. That's confusing.
You're not helping things.
Yeah.
Well, it might be hard to pronounce, but at least you didn't grow up your entire life with your teachers calling you by your last name on accident all the time.
Yeah.
Derrick?
Yes.
No, 2 first names.
It's
tough.
You're automatically not trusted on the disc golf marketplace because
100%.
it's 2 first
I
names.
cannot sell
That's
anything
it.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
Fake.
No.
Fake account.
I did not realize that was a thing, but now that you say it, like that clicks.
Big red flag.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it either. Kevin
BRF.
Bradley Derrick, which I know because I saw your wedding invitations recently.
Oh, yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
You're about to tie the knot.
I am 2 weeks from tomorrow.
What are your nerves like right now?
I feel pretty good. I feel like the last 2 weeks from an event planning standpoint, who knows? Like there's a lot to do and I just like don't know what's going to pop up from actually being married and being with Liz for the rest of my life. 0 doubts. Like that doesn't raise my pulse at all. But it's kind of like a project management event planning challenge that we'll see how the next 2 weeks go.
Event planning is something you have a little experience with.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
We'll get into that.
Is your future wife okay with having 2 first names as well?
I don't think it'll be as bad for her. My sister, however, married Josh Hanna. So my sister went from Angela Derrick, not really a problem, to Angela Hanna. So now she knows what I've been dealing with my entire life. So.
Fair enough.
That's very funny. So I kind of laid out the topic we're really going to get to, but before we get to the nuts and bolts of this conversation, let's do Fired Up.
fired up
Yeah.
with energy
Yeah.
this time around.
Who's
I'll
ready to-
go first.
Yes, thank you.
No, is it going to be what I think
Because
it is?
just days ago, the Mexican government said that they have 1,000-year-old alien bodies that they've kept secret, that they have now made public, and I am living for every second of it. Oh, yes, across the table, you have your hand raised?
So I am not a pathologist. I am not a medical examiner, but I can already tell you that the bones in those x-rays of those papier-mâché piece of shit aliens were put together from like scrap old dead cat bones. The bones that are in there are not supposed to be connected. It is obviously a 5th grade art project. You
Or-
can't tell me.
Or
Go ahead.
1,000-year-old alien bones.
That's a good
considered-
point. That's a
Yeah,
good point.
yeah.
It
Okay.
might be.
Have you considered the fact
We don't
that
have
it's
a lot
real?
of experience with 1,000-year-old alien bones.
Yeah.
That
So,
could be.
I mean, the whole 1,000-year-old thing, obviously, that's a little off, right? For anybody that's like, wait, how? But I have seen like the x-rays and CAT scans of them. In the world of AI and all things potentially faked, I get the layman's skepticism, but I am very
Calling Ryan a layman?
just the royal Ryan.
I've been known to lay.
All the
Non-believers.
Ryans. Yeah.
This
Non-believers.
dude lays.
I lay with the best of them. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm very excited for the future. I've also heard that this will have happened before this episode hits the feeds, but I've heard that NASA is going to make a big announcement with regards to the UAP phenomenon within the next 48 hours, I believe. Potentially
So
tomorrow.
I'm going
as
to
of this
use
record.
a word that Donnie has used in the past, and I've really kind of gotten a hold of it and really embraced it. But
Can't wait.
this is bringing out, this whole UAP thing is bringing out so many cucadactyls. And the Mexican whole bullshit, that is the first of what will become so much that it almost seems like a plan by our government to let all the crazies go nuts and discredit everything that everyone believes. And then after so long, we will become that, what's the movie? Welcome to Costco, I love you.
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy.
Okay, sir. Now we will begin to proceed to obtain your IQ and aptitude tests.
What for?
Okay, sir. This is to figure out what your aptitude's good at and get you a jail job while you're being a particular individual in jail.
Yes.
We'll get to the point where we look like the characters from Idiocracy and no one will take anyone seriously about it. And then it just falls by the wayside because it's so ridiculous.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
that's how I feel like it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's still believing in all of it.
Anytime anything like this happens where there's like a potential shift in the dynamic of what we consider common knowledge, that is always the case. There's always going to be some weeds that you have to knock out of the way to find the truth, but that doesn't make the truth any less real.
No.
in my
I
opinion.
think it will dilute what may be the truth by having so much ridiculousness surrounding
Are
it.
you saying the government is using the Michael Scott approach to disinformation,
Yeah, I mean,
making
Yeah.
a bunch of fake rumors?
they're letting it,
hide the real one?
all the crazies do it for them. Like, it's a hands-off approach to making it nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So, this was also going to be my fired up. I couldn't wait to bring this up
Wow.
to you
Okay.
Wow.
because I thought it was so ridiculous, but they're crazy. They're out of their mind.
We'll see. I'm on Reddit every couple of hours now, checking to see what information has filtered its way onto there, because that's the
Not
only,
just for the
That's the
boobs.
only news source that I believe in.
Not just for the boobs.
you're
but-
That's the other. It's I said it's
Aliens
every couple
and
of
boobs.
minutes. The other couple of minutes
Okay,
is
okay.
checking out some not safe for work stuff, and that's okay.
That's fine.
I
what it's
realize,
there for.
I realize we can't get through an episode without office references, but the whole rumor.
You can't be the one who made the reference and then point out that a reference was made.
I did.
But I did.
So I'm also the guy who submits questions to our own mailbag.
Yeah, fair enough. All right.
Today I was telling you guys that I had these big presentations at work, and a bunch of my colleagues were all supposed to make the same kinds of presentations. It's supposed to be about 30 minutes, and one of my colleagues made like a 90-second video and hoped that was going to be sufficient. And the whole time I was just
Whoops.
thinking the Faces of Scranton video that Michael did for his financial presentation.
Oh, yeah.
And then when the video ended and nobody said anything, my boss was like, okay, so now let's have the real presentation.
Oh,
It was such a moment of joy for me, and I will never forget it.
all right.
Fantastic.
I'm glad that happened for you.
Drop the song that Michael plays in that video. Is that like a U2 song or something?
I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, it's With or Without You by you.
Yes,
Yes.
there it is.
Yes. Trivia.
Perfect. All right, well, who wants to follow Aliens? Who's fired up about something?
Oh, I'll go next.
Please.
It's not aliens. It is indeed more about the Sandy Point trip that we went on. We are home now, obviously, and it was another banger, man. We had a really good year this year. Donnie took that oar. Very well deserved.
Second year?
That is his second after winning it in 2014, so it had been a while. So it was very appropriate that he gets to put his name on the oar, especially after his personal transformation of losing over 105 pounds.
And then gaining probably 20 back on the trip.
Yeah, probably about 20.
He'll work it back off.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He's probably already worked it off. It was awesome. Trip was great. All the vibes, all the good stuff. So many more traditions. We nailed everything. We were like very much on top of that aspect of the trip. It was very cool. I got to shout out my brother Joe. Everybody
saw
knows
that.
Joey. The photo that I put in my post about the Boy Scout badges that he made for his offering, just absolutely outstanding. And we didn't give them back. We were supposed to give them back. We still need to do that because we are going to re-earn them every year.
Yes, right.
That was just phenomenal. Just
Did you?
11 out of 10.
Was the goal to get all the badges by the end of the trip?
There were just several to get, and some were group earned and some were individually earned. But yeah, I'm sure there will be those and more for next year. It'll just be an ongoing thing. But yeah, it was just something stupid to do. Was like there was a pizza badge where we had to eat so many frozen pizzas and then we got a badge. Or, like there was a screwing around in the cabin badge. There was just some of them were just automatic just to get badges, just for the sake of getting
Was that
them.
what the puppies was? Was that the
Yeah,
puppies?
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, there were several of those, but there were also like metal hits. You got a little badge for hitting metal, or there were ace pins. Badges. Nobody got an ace this year, but there were ace badges waiting to be earned. There were like Starbird badges if the group did it, and things like that.
Turkey badges.
Turkey badges if you got a
Loon
turkey,
badges.
which we all eventually got. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a badge with Sean's ass on it?
So there was one.
There's a lot of my ass on that trip.
There was
ass on
a
that trip.
blue badge with a stick figure bending over and like the audio sound coming out of his ass. And that badge was only earned if you farted loud enough in public that someone else could hear it.
Like not somebody outside of your group.
Correct. Right. Like not in the woods playing disc golf, but like around other people. And Donnie earned that a few times over.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
oh no.
I did too.
And then you took it
I took it from him
at the last
Yeah.
minute. Yeah.
That was
But
great.
that one was interesting.
So,
Especially at
that was one of my questions. Were there
Especially-
multiple badges, or like you could steal it if somebody earned it?
In that case, you could steal it, and I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were several
There was
like
just
that
one
that you
for
could
that.
steal, but
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so at
Yeah.
any point on the trip, did anybody say badges? We don't need no stinking badges.
oh yeah, several times.
okay. All right.
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
God.
yeah.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah, immediately.
Good job. Okay. Good job.
Yeah, as soon as he opened it up.
Good.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, the vibes came through on the post. That's what I was saying. Like, just I felt like not that I was there because only Lauren Lakeberg can really achieve that, but reading through it and seeing all the photos, it just kind of brought me in. And
Yeah.
I don't know, after we talked about it last episode, there was vibes on that post.
Yeah.
That was something that I realized this past trip that is very important to the buildup of the previous and the next is when we take a bunch of photos on the trip so that we have those moments to remember. And that made it extra special for me because I was kind of doing that as much as I could.
Yeah, you were doing that a ton.
Yeah.
I think it started really with, and I'm going to say it 1,000 times, but the first two courses that we stopped at, Wilderness, we played 2 rounds there on the first day, and then the next day we stopped at Standing Rocks, and Wilderness was in its typical,
Sure. It was
shape.
great.
But Standing Rocks has become my number 1 favorite course in the world.
Okay.
Just from the transformation that it had from last year to this year. A lot of Standing Rocks, if you've never been there, it's hard to describe, but it's very wooded, and there are old ski trails and dirt roads and things that a lot of the fairways are, shaped from. And last year it was a lot of, if you're not in the fairway, there's a lot of what we called
Barnacles.
yeah, we call them barnacles. They're just the little weeds and burrs that stick to you immediately, and those covered the sides of the fairway in every fairway almost. And so if you were off the fairway, it became a chore, but it was still a great course. And this year, all of that was gone. Oh, wow. All of the fairways, instead of being dirt roads, were grass. And everything was so well manicured that it was like immediately noticeable, and it was incredible. So from then on...
Any Facebook stuff about who's taking responsibility for that?
We talked to Mike a little bit about that, and Stu, because Stu had some hands in helping with that course when he lived down there. But it's just changing hands for the park district that's around there, and whatever is going on, just taking control. It was awesome.
And it's a pay-to-play course.
And it's a pay-to-play
course. Later on, I mean...
Yeah, if it's pay to play, how good?
You're definitely seeing those dollars go to work, which is great.
Yeah. From then on, as soon as we started playing that course, like the trip was going to be 100% because like it was the perfect day. It was warm, but it was sunny and perfect and just it was awesome.
Do you have your own fired up?
Oh, no, it was going to be how shitty those aliens were. So he beat me to it.
Yeah, that works. I'll give listeners a heads up that we already discussed ahead of time that there's not going to be a Cal Hallander on this episode. So my fired up will be that we have the Heinz Emerald Dragonfly open in just a few weeks. And we just got the discs in for the players packs from Wild Discs.
Nice.
Have you ever thrown any of their stuff?
I have not. I'm familiar, but I have not.
I have one on my shelf, on my disc, on my Heiser rack at home, but I've never thrown one. And now I have a whole box full of Tasmanian Devils, which obviously are going to go out to players. But the thing about Wild Discs is they donate a portion of their profits to like Nature Conservancy. Or conservation, I should say. So we're like, that aligns well with the Forest Reserve stuff.
Yes, it does.
Sure. I don't know what that disc throws like. All I know is it's a fairway driver. They're pretty. And
swirls are gorgeous. They look really cool.
Was it the one that was up on the counter upstairs?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it MVP produced?
I don't know.
That looked like an MVP disc upstairs. I mean, they do a lot of that with other companies where they manufacture other brands' molds.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't know. I mean, but
I'd almost say stamped yes, it's MVP plastic, and I didn't
I
know
trust
that.
You. I trust
didn't
you.
know that because I thought it was an MVP disc that was upstairs.
Sheila's the Deucer's getting on the Google. And then the other thing that I'm fired up about is the return of Sunset Dubs. That is going to be it's going to be run by the Pinas, George and David.
Nice.
And you couldn't ask for two better people to do it.
Heck yeah.
Those dudes first off, they go to. I've never been to a disc golf event and not seen them. At least one of them is at every
I don't think I've run one where they have not been there.
That's true.
If not both of them, at least one. But usually it's David, George, and George's wife at every single disc golf event.
Sure.
I was at D-Glow when I was at a few weeks ago. And I was leaving in the parking lot looking for my car. This is in Michigan. Yeah. And then of course David Pena is like, "Yo, Eric, what up?" I'm like, "Holy shit,
what are you doing here?
Go home."
Yeah.
There's never been a disc golf event in the U.S. that didn't have a Pena there.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
there. Great.
So yeah, they support everyone's stuff. They're just awesome ambassadors. So I'm excited that it's in their hands, and I hope everybody goes out and plays that. KLM Monday nights starts when the sun is setting, and it finishes as a glow round. So it's a great time. I'm going to get out there and play for sure. And like I said, it's in good hands. So hopefully people come out and play.
Sweet.
You boys, let's go
fresh meat.
I'm going to go Eric first.
All right,
Eric, what are you fired up about?
All right, so I'm fired up about my wife, Megan.
She made you do this, didn't she?
She did, yeah. No, she did not. So we've got our 2-year wedding anniversary on Monday, the 18th.
Nice.
So very excited for that. But yeah, just want to shout her out. She's like the best partner you could ask for.
I don't know about that.
Got some competition over here? I don't know.
She sounds lovely.
Yeah, but yeah, for those that don't know her,
is.
some folks in the community are jealous because when we first met, she did not do disc golf at all. But I was like, "Yo, just come out. It's like hiking. We'll throw frisbees." And now she's completely hooked. She follows everyone on Instagram, watches all the tournaments with me.
Heck yeah!
She knows all the gossip about the pros. So it's really fun. Mm-hmm. I guess the second year is cotton or whatever. Last year was paper, so we got tickets and went to see a show. This year, we've just been upping our bedroom game.
There you go.
That could go somewhere. No, we're talking physical objects.
He respects his wife.
I mean, we're working on other stuff too, but yeah.
I can't wait to put music under this.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those that haven't met me though, I'm 6'5", so I take up a lot of space. Our dog also sleeps with us. So I was like, "Yo, it's cotton here. Let's get a king size bed finally." So we upgraded our bed.
Nice.
So
Game
nice.
changer.
And then we had pillow week a couple weeks ago. We had 4 pillows show up. So we got brand new because I didn't realize there's different size pillows for king beds.
Yeah.
It looked really dumb. They were like super thin. I was like, yeah, we need to fill out this space. So yeah, we got like Sleep Number pillows. They're super nice.
Upgrade.
So yeah, it's been good. And then this weekend, we're going to go to Avec, which is a restaurant in the West Loop that was featured on The Bear, which I don't know if y'all have seen that.
Nice.
So,
Dude.
So yeah, and then we're gonna hike Starved Rock on Sunday. We've never been there before, so
Nice.
cool stuff this weekend. Yeah.
Dude, that king size upgrade is life changing.
Yeah, I've got like the Fitbit, and I honestly feel like my sleep has gotten better.
Sure.
Yeah.
Every time we go to a hotel and have to settle for a queen, I'm just livid about it. Now.
This is bullshit.
Yeah, this is what I have to sleep next to my wife? Get away from me. Once you get a king bed, it's over.
It's hard to go back. Yeah.
What do you need all that room for? You guys don't lie on top of each other and sleep that way all night?
Yeah.
Is that what you guys do?
Is that
Right.
Yeah.
that's normal, right?
Who's on top?
That's what Mexican aliens
Switch
do.
it up.
Yeah.
Just Jason in bed with 20 Mexican aliens.
Yeah.
I use them as blankets.
No, that's super exciting. And yeah, I'll definitely back you up. Megan is she's the shit.
I didn't know she was so into like the pro disc golf scene. Is she joining our fantasy league next year?
Honestly, she would probably be better than me.
Yeah.
Might have to get her in on it. Yeah.
It's a low bar, but yeah, I can see that.
Definitely better than me.
Silly question: is she playing? Does she play?
She does,
or-
yeah.
Okay.
So that's what's funny about her is like she doesn't have a competitive bone in her body. So like I've tried to encourage her like, hey, you should go out and do a tournament, and she hasn't yet. But she's tight with Amy. I think we'll get her out to something, hopefully next year. So
She goes to leagues.
Megan, listen to this, try it out. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Try it out.
But yeah, she's got like a 200-foot shot like every single time with her meteor, like very consistent.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. One day we'll get the putting figured out. She just isn't patient enough to actually practice it. But she loves the sport though.
I have footage of her nailing a putt. So it's
Yeah,
not totally
big
true.
one.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
Totally normal. All right, Kev, you got to follow that. What do you
Well,
find
I
out
wish I
about?
would have gone first. Like, this is going to sound like the sappiest episode of this podcast ever, but I'm getting married, as I mentioned, 2 weeks from tomorrow, so I'm pretty fired up about that. Like, I don't know how I could pick anything else. We're really excited. We have friends, family coming in from all over the country. It's going to be an awesome party, so really looking forward to that. And then the rest of forever. So that's going to be awesome.
You guys got a pretty swanky venue, right? And
Yeah.
it's in the city. Where's it at again?
Yeah, up in Ravenswood, Artifact
perfect.
Events.
I'll be there, but I'll be working, shooting my first wedding, and that's my half of a wedding gift and half of me just trying to steal some experience at shooting weddings. So I'm going to be working with Parker Tatel, another videographer in the
Nice.
disc golf scene.
Yeah, Parker's awesome.
He listened to the last episode and he reached out and he's like, "You're shooting that wedding? Is there any chance I could like be your second shooter?" And I was like, "Oh, my
wow.
God, yes, dude, please."
Grassy knoll.
Oh,
I was the second gunman on the grassy knoll.
Grassy knoll.
Right there.
damn it.
It took me a second. Yeah, no, I'm stoked about it. Well, cool. Then that's a wrap on Fired Up. And since we are moving past the Callahallander rundown,
It's just because there's the stuff that's happening for us. I mean, we already talked about your event.
yeah,
The stuff that's happening for us will have already happened by the time this comes out. So it's like useless.
Hope you enjoyed it.
It's not that I don't want to have it for you guys. It's just that it won't matter so much.
Delwood After Dark is starting up soonish, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I guess we're gonna do the Callahallander rundown. Yeah. Wednesday, October 4th, we'll start the 8-week Point League Delwood After Dark out at Delhi. We talked about it last episode. I'm excited for that. Of course, way more details will come out soon enough, so hang tight for those. That's really all I got.
Cool. Then this Callahallander rundown was brought to you unofficially by
DiscGolfScene.com.
Come on, Pete.
Yes. We have to have a challenge with how long the pause is in between it clicking for the person that says it. That was a very good amount of time.
Yeah, that was good. I cut out some of the silence for Donnie last episode because it was so long, but I'm going to leave all of that in.
Just a dramatic pause.
Yeah, right.
exactly.
Yeah.
He knows how to deliver a moment.
Yeah. Thanks to Nora Balati for painting that so I can point to it.
Yes.
Yes.
Not that the guests didn't know,
Right.
obviously, because everyone knows.
knew.
They
But
listen.
Yeah.
They know.
So, anyway.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back with the nuts and bolts.
Nuts and butts.
Yeah,
Nuts and butts.
Nuts and butts.
And we're back.
keeping it in.
We're back. We were just talking about totally normal things.
Oh, this is live, guys, by the way. Yeah.
All right. No, it is time to get into the nuts and bolts, bringing disc golf to new places with Eric and Kevin of Disc Golf Chicago. I feel like the right place to start is, I considered doing it for a second.
Do not.
I haven't done it in a while.
You haven't. And that's fine. We're all better for it.
I would love to know
We're
the
all
first
better
time you guys
for it.
ever played disc golf, but
Yeah.
we can talk about that off the air.
Nope.
Otherwise, Ryan's head might explode.
Yep.
Okay, no, but seriously, the origins of Disc Golf Chicago, it was the Chicagoland Disc Golf Club originally, which was a thing that I was just doing running leagues, and at some point I was getting really burnt out of it, and I had met Eric because he was coming out to leagues, and when you got involved, do you remember the first phone call that was like,
Yeah.
like
Vividly.
how this started to become what it is? Like, talk about that phone call if you can remember like specifics.
Yeah, I was interested in having a phone call in the first place because I was so happy to have dubs at KLM. Because coming from Michigan, like I would drive to work, I had my bag in my car at all times. I would play almost every single day on the way home from work because it's just accessible. Like Detroit is the Motor City. There isn't really traffic anywhere. You can play anytime. And then I moved here and like just stopped playing disc golf. I was living in Logan Square. Actually, like I found out later on, Kevin and I lived literally like less than a block away from each other.
Wow.
Which is wild. But yeah, I just like stopped playing. But during COVID, I like had more time to get out because I could leave right after work instead of being at the office. But no, dubs got me interested in the first place in disc golf again. And Alex, you deserve a lot of credit for like inspiring me because like the vibe you brought it was like my people in my community again. I was like, it feels so good to have this again. Just the fact that like you always remembered everyone's names, like you just had such a great feel to it.
That's my autism.
Yeah, coming through.
The weird thing about knowing everyone's first and last name when I meet them, like if I don't know that, I feel like I didn't meet you.
Yeah, but anyways, getting to the call, my job is like I do corporate stuff. I work in advertising sales, and like it's great. It gives me a good life, but it doesn't scratch my itch in terms of like things I want to do to better the world, fulfill my passion,
stuff that matters. Yeah,
yeah. So I remember just like asking you one day. I was like, "Yo, let's talk." And I work in sales, so I start off with a classic like open-ended question. I was like, "So, Alex,"
it was a cold call.
Yeah, it was a cold call. No, I was like, "Hey, like." Tell me more about Disc Golf Chicago. Like, what do you want it to be?
And I remember my answer being like, I'm about to like stop doing it. I'm pretty burnt out of it, honestly. And you asked what the vision for it was, and I was like, there isn't really one at this point. It's my vision is like, how can I get away from this now that I've overcommitted myself? And I just remember you had like the experience of you were the president of a disc golf club in college.
Yeah, Michigan State. Yep.
And you were just like, let's just have a conversation about what it could be. You son of a bitch. You got my wheels turning again. I went from, I was almost out, and then you pulled me back in. And at some point, I remember being like, okay, so we need a couple other smart people. And that's where Kevin was like the first name that came to mind. Kevin had been coming out to leagues as well. That's a smart
Come on!
like,
And he's got two first names.
Hey, we get two for the price of one.
Scammer.
Yeah, if Kevin doesn't show up, Derrick will. So you're good.
I don't remember our first conversation about it. Do you remember it?
No, but I remember when I first started coming to Disc Golf Chicago leagues, it wasn't long after I moved back to the country after living abroad, getting back into disc golf. And I was like, oh, this Disc Golf Chicago League, this is awesome. Came out to Highland for tags. Played really well, like out of my mind. Took the number 1 tag. And I think the next weekend I broke my ankle. And was out for the rest of the season.
Stepped off the edge of a tee pad.
Yep, this was broke my ankle playing disc golf. So this was in like April. So I showed up at one of the first tags
that won the one tag and never.
I was
going to
say, is that like the curse? Like you win the tag and then you can't bring it back.
Yeah,
maybe, and not just.
I'm still not sure that he actually broke his ankle. In fact.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So that was my introduction to Disc Golf Chicago, is stealing the 1 tag and disappearing for the rest of the season because I was laid up on my couch with a broken ankle. Pretty decent excuse as far as they go for having the 1 tag. But then I think it was, I don't know, a year or two later, you had posted something on Facebook about, hey, I want to get a course in the city. I want to try to do something. cool. Like, let's get a course together. Who can help? And I remember just thinking, sounds great. Let's put some direction behind this. Let's put some things. And I put together this huge PowerPoint presentation of like, all right, what are we trying to do? What are the goals here? Are we trying to make it accessible? Are we trying to do a championship course? Like, what are the goals? What's the avenues for doing this? Just like thinking through my like project management brain of like, how do we make this happen and send it across? And I feel like that didn't really end up going anywhere immediately, but it was a few months later that you reached out and said, hey, we're actually kind of thinking about doing this expo thing and taking this to the next level. I love what you did before. Like, do you want to be involved? Do you want to help? Let's do this. And I was immediately on board. Sounded awesome.
It's a pretty good example of what I was saying outside is that I have a lot of ideas. As far as executing things, I need smart people around me to go like, how is it actually going to work? You can't do all those things, but we can do this one thing. I don't remember how we even got on the subject of the expo. I think
a lot of stuff happened really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like within a few weeks of each other, we were like, hey, let's like formalize this. We're going to be more than a club. Let's actually become something that does more than just events. Like,
yes,
how do we get courses in the ground? How do we like build grassroots support for disc golf in Chicago to make it more accessible?
I think I remember being like, I'm down to keep doing this, but like it has to be something. It can't just be leagues. There's a bunch of people doing that shit already. Unless we're doing something new or different, or it's going to like change something, I don't need to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And I think we put out a survey about who wants to help or where would be some good places. And then Matt Swing took it on himself.
That's what I was going to get to, yeah.
The Paul Macbeth Foundation had just been launched.
I haven't seen him in a minute. Is he still around? I haven't seen Matt.
Yeah.
Is
he? He just got a new job working for Matthew Berry's like fantasy football organization.
Sick.
Another person with two first names?
Berry, Berry, but yeah.
Wow.
Anyways, yeah, he's around. I think he's just he's busy. But yeah, he's the one. He sent an email to the Paul Macbeth Foundation's first announcement that like we want to find out like where can we put courses, or we're looking for projects.
Yeah.
He wasn't even in the conversation other than a guy who was coming to leagues. Yeah. And all of a sudden he sent me an email like CCing the Paul Macbeth Foundation like, hey, I sent this email. They're interested in helping in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And then it got, like you said, very real, very fast.
Yeah, so that got real fast. Dustin from the Paul Macbeth Foundation, we're about to have a meeting with him. I'm pretty sure right around that same time, Tommy reached out to you and was like, hey, I want to do like an event this summer in Hyde Park. Mm-hmm. You guys down? And then that just like was perfect timing alignment. The Paul Macbeth Foundation, they're very interested in getting disc golf in underserved areas. So it was like, boom, South Side. Tommy's looking for assistance with this. So
there's a lot to plan really in a short amount of time. And to bring you guys into this, I remember coming to you for guidance. And it's a quote that I like weekly still think about when you were like, if you're going to do this, you have to realize like the gravity of it. Like you're bringing the GOAT to the table.
Right.
People are going to be watching. People are going to want the Mighty Ducks ending.
Right.
And that's such a visual, like that made everything real to me.
Yeah.
That was like my mantra was we got to get the Mighty Ducks ending.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Which we still don't have quite yet. Like it's still in progress, but I'm happy with how everything unfolded.
There were 3 of those movies, so you have time.
That's true.
You've got all the time in the world.
We're
You
not
guys
even
are
the D2
You
yet.
guys are killing it. I mean, I got to say, like from an outsider, I'm loosely involved with all things you and kind of you guys too. And I definitely see it via socials. You guys are killing it, and you're continuing to do the things you want to be doing and getting disc golf into places that it wasn't. And that is more than a lot of people are doing in a lot of places. So I super commend you guys. It's great.
Thank you. But it helps to have network friends. When we started to think like, what is the expo going to be? Like, how do we make it like an experience? I don't know how the thought process really unfolded, but I knew I wanted the podcast involved. I knew I wanted Delwood involved, Unstable Disc Golf Gear. Like I just wanted Bag of Tricks. I wanted all of it involved in some way. And that's how we had, we got you guys on board to do the live podcast with like no time to prep. I still can't
I recall I'm having with you guys saying that there was a little bit of time to prepare for that.
PTSD.
I remember PTSD, absolutely. I remember you telling us and me being like, well, you better hurry up, dude. Because we had just done Silver Series in July 4th weekend, and then the expo was like early in August. It was right. It was like less than 6 weeks.
Was because Paul wanted to be there, so we're like, oh, let's schedule it during your swing when you're like going to Peoria. And then Delhi,
I knew specifically I had to wait to talk to you guys about this until like I couldn't bring it to you while you were in that mode.
Oh yeah.
So I brought it to Jason first because I was like, Jason can get excited about this, and then I can kind of build my case off of Jason's enthusiasm. And then I think I came to Ryan next, and Ryan was like, it could be done.
It's possible.
That's a Ryan answer for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then once I felt like I had all the pieces in place and things had calmed down for you a little bit, it wasn't more than like a few weeks' notice. Let's do this thing that we've been doing, but in front of an audience with with Paul Macbeth. And I still can't believe that you guys all pulled it all together. I had nothing to do other than booking the venue. Like, you guys showed up, you got the banners made, you got the mics, like everything was all you guys, and it couldn't have been done without you. It
Turned out great. It
was so
super fun.
Yeah, it was a great day.
It's a good episode.
Yeah,
I love it.
I
so
listened
much.
back a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, in my head, it was like cringy, and it's one I've never listened to over and over again. But
like the rest.
But yeah, like the rest. But I had a hankering for it, and I went back and I was like, damn, we actually kind of killed it considering everything.
All things considered.
Yeah.
And
I had one goal: make Paul laugh.
We did that.
And we
many
did.
times.
We did. Yeah.
I did not mean to make him as uncomfortable as I did, but I'm glad that
That's my
happened.
favorite part.
Oh yeah, the rub.
Yeah.
My favorite part.
Should we bring that segment back?
Maybe.
Yeah, I do. I still
I
have
think
that
we
poster.
were earlier when we were talking about the hand jobs.
No. The rub has reemerged.
Yeah.
The rub 2.0.
Yeah, no, I still have that poster. We should frame it, but he signed the poster of the expo poster, and it says,
sweet.
"Thanks for the rub, Paul Macbeth." So he leaned into it, and it was great. Yeah,
I loved what you did on the live episode, by the way. You were like really great about getting the audience engaged, which is such a thing for a live show. And I just didn't think about it. Yeah. And you took all the right opportunities. Make sure we did get everybody to say, come on, Pete. And thank you guys for being here. You know, it's a beautiful, like, there were multiple times where the audience got involved, and it was all because you remembered to like keep that. And that's your like live event hosting, mastery at work. It was awesome. Okay, so the expo came and went. It was a shitload of planning, shitload of work, and it unfolded in a lot of good ways. And also, there were some things that we came out of it like, oh, you know what? I skipped over a really important piece, so I'm gonna rewind. At a certain point,
keeping that in.
At a certain point, we were like, if we're gonna be doing all these things, we should become a nonprofit. I don't know why we thought that.
Well, it's because we were going to get baskets, and I was like, who do these baskets go to? What? And we got hooked up with Double G, and we were like, where's this check going? Is this just being sent to Eric or Alex or Kevin? What's the deal? Yeah, we had to have something official. I say you did all the work for that. You figured out how to make us a nonprofit. You made it happen really quick, and now I get the joy of telling people, oh, I run a nonprofit organization. I did Sounds
nothing.
a lot fancier.
Did nothing to make it happen, but I get that perk now, so thank you.
Well, I think the expo is interesting too from my side. We came together, these origin stories, it was, as you can tell, it was very loose. It was just like, hey, you kind of want to be involved in something? What's the vision? What's the vision? All of a sudden we had this expo in front of us. It's like, holy shit, Paul Macbeth's coming here? Like, all right, we got to get everything together. We got to plan. We got to and
Poops need to be in groups.
Yeah. We came together very well as a team. And I feel like we had a lot of different skill sets. And it just like, we went from zero, just a couple guys like with a few ideas to like, we're a 501c3 nonprofit hosting an expo with Paul Macbeth at it. 6 months. I mean, it was insane. Like
less
the
than
amount
that.
of less. Yeah.
Way
it was
less.
just like absolutely the amount of work, the amount of like details, the amount of planning that went into that. Just, I think, really like forges as a team and kind of like weed it out. You kind of want to be involved a little bit. Like, you think this is a cool idea? All right, it's a ton of work. There's a bunch going on. And I think we just formed like a really good core team coming out of that because we had such pressure to deliver.
Yeah.
Well, as Macho Man Randy Savage says, the cream rises to the top.
No pukesters helping me to the left, and no pukesters helping me to the right. Didn't need them then, don't need them now.
And now that you bring that up, I think it's possible. I don't know this. He's never said this, but Matt Swing not being involved as much these days. Well, he's not really involved with Disc Golf Chicago today. He's still like a friend. He's, we're still tight. Yeah. I think there was probably some like PTSD from some of the other people who like signed up to help, and then it was just like the scale went way beyond what I thought we were going to be doing at
We
first.
had no idea. Yeah.
Like you said, a few people that just they were doing a shitload of work and then nothing after that. And I do not blame anybody for it because I wanted to walk away as well afterwards. Yeah, I remember there was like a fundraising thing as well, and that's what I got to shout out Delwood again. You gave us such a big financial contribution to like cover the cost of all the baskets. Yeah, like we still have all those baskets and we use them. Actually, this is a good segue to the next stuff that we can talk about is after the expo, we were like, all right, how do we keep this momentum going? We needed to figure out other ways to talk to people who could help us get courses in the ground. So we were like, the forest reserves, that's a good route to go down. They have land in the city. We have these baskets. We can run like pop-up events. I think the way it started to unfold was it was Mike Stahara had brought the idea, or he just made us aware that the forest reserves were looking at ways to repurpose some of their ball golf courses. They were asking the community for input. Like, we're having these meetings. Come to the meetings if you want to, chime in. I knew it was a good idea, but I didn't really know what to do with it. I think you went to one of the meetings in person.
Yeah.
You created a massive presentation.
Yeah, I kind of jumped in like gung-ho. A lot of the momentum we had after the expo, I was like, I don't want to let this just dissolve. We have a ton of momentum. We've done something really cool. I know everyone's exhausted. It's a ton of work. But like we gotta carry this momentum into something. And when we found out the forest reserves, they were evaluating 3 of their golf courses that were kind of underutilized, underperforming, and they were like, what do we do with this land? Do we eliminate the golf courses? Do we spend millions of dollars rehabbing them? Do we change them into 9-hole golf courses? And one of them that really struck a chord with me was that one of them was Edgebrook, which had a disc golf course back in the day when I lived in Chicago a long time ago, probably like 2009, and it had a disc golf course on there. And I moved back from India in 2015, and I was like, I live pretty close to there. Where's this golf course? I called them. They're like, oh, we took it out and we put in foot golf. And I was just like, what the hell? That's like 20 minutes from my house.
Who sold that idea to that? Like, how did that unfold? I can't believe you don't know any of the details.
I never went and played Edgebrook or played that course or anything, but I did not know until just now that the course was pulled in order for foot golf to go in.
Yeah, because I was like emailing their manager when I first moved back in 2015, like, what's going on? Like, and they were like, oh yeah, we put in foot golf. But I used to go out there with my buddies who ball golfed, and some of my friends hate that term, but we would go out and get carts, and I would disc golf and they would ball golf because the courses ran parallel to each other. And
were you just throwing your disc at the pole?
Yeah, I mean, the course design wasn't the best. It was basically you played the golf course, but the basket was like off to the side of the green. So a par 5 is like 1,500 feet of throwing discs. It's not like the more modern concept of putting disc golf courses on ball golf courses where you kind of shoot across fairways, intersect. It was literally hole 1 for both of you. You tee off from pretty much the same place, but the basket's kind of off to the side. So
the golfers must have hated that.
Wow. Yeah. I was like in my early 20s. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm just going to like launch a bunch of distance shots all day. This is great. Now I think
imagine doing that now.
Yeah. I'd leave in a stretcher. Yeah. But yeah, so I love that course. And anyway, so when we found out that they were evaluating these 3 properties and trying to figure out what to do, it was just like such an obvious answer, like disc golf. 2 of them were on the south side, and then one was Edgebrook, and there's just such a absolute desert of courses in some of those areas. And there's so many disc golfers in the city that want to play, that want to get involved, that don't have cars, or don't want to drive an hour 15 out to Delwood in traffic. And they played disc golf in college or back home, then they moved here for a job and they don't play. And it just seems so obvious that, hey, you have this property that could be perfect for disc golf and you don't know what to do. So that's where I jumped very gung-ho in and said, well, let's put together a presentation. Let's really attack this professionally. I reached out to the Vegas Wild Horse golf course. I just played that. I reached out to them. I reached out to a disc golf, ball golf course in Hawaii that Eric had played. Yeah. I reached out to one in Michigan that I had played. I said, hey, give me some talking points. Give me some, like, how much money do you make off of disc golf? What's your revenue? Like, give me some things that help us sell this. We talked to Leonard Johnson, Leonard Muse, who put together a lot of that. He put a lot of disc golf courses out in California on ball golf courses.
The SFO or OTB Open now, he designs that.
Yeah. So we put just a ton of research into this, like hours and hours and hours, like pulling data together. I mean, that's just kind of like what I live for. That's how my brain works. And I put in this great presentation. Like, here's what you could do. Here's the revenue you can make. Here's your options. You can put in this course. It costs this much, or this. And we threw it out there. Eric went to some community meetings where they were listening to concerns of the local members of like, what should we do with this land? And you had your golfers who were like, don't take away my golf, like absolutely like furious. And we put all this work in, and long story short, it kind of went nowhere. And it was a little bit defeating.
Do we know if they ever even looked at it?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
If you had to, give me the 30-second bullet points of what you had researched, because I'm curious to know what they all talked about in summary.
It was a lot. So just everything from how much money you can make off of disc golf, how much money the LVC makes off of Vegas, how much revenue they bring in, how many golfers, the foot traffic that they've brought in, the amount of land that it takes to build a golf course. We talked to Dana on design principles and safety and how much land usage you need, how much baskets cost, how much tee pads cost, how much signage costs.
Yeah, we also aligned it with, because they basically had 3 different options for their proposal, because they were like, hey, we're like way in the red. They had drainage issues. Their like main pro shop building is like in shambles as well. So that was their concern with continuing the golf course as 18 holes, is like it would require so much money to like fix the drainage. So they had, I think it was 3 different options: was rejuvenate the 18 hole course, or move it to a 9 hole course with other activities, or just remove golf altogether. So Kevin put together a proposal with options for all 3 of those, and then also like tied it to their revenue and foot traffic for like, here's what you could expect in any of these outcomes.
And it sounds like you were doing their jobs for them.
Yeah. So the other thing is to do all of this, they hired a consulting company to do all of this research and all of this public outreach. So like they had a bunch of surveys and we sent it out to disc golfers in the community, and the survey was like, what should we do with this park? And we're like, hey guys, fill this out, answer disc golf. But they hired consultants to do all this research and put together all these proposals and do these environmental impact assessments and this and that. And I feel like we put together something very, very professional, but when we sent it across, I feel like the consultants were just like, who cares? Not our work. And just kind of went forward
in my dealings with park districts and design companies and hearing your story, I have to say that sometimes I think with the red tape and the unfortunate politics that get caught up into these things, we end up getting so far away from what everybody's trying to do in the first place, which is just put something together that the community can enjoy. Yeah. And that is very unfortunate to hear that you did all that work. I'm proud of you guys. Keep pushing forward. But, I just feel like we get away from it. You get away from the idea in the first place of just something for the people.
Well, it was eye-opening. I know Eric attended the one in person. I attended one virtually where they had the community members come in and talk about it. And it was very eye-opening to see what the people around the course care about. Some people, one of the courses on the south side, they're like, I live here and I play here every day and I have been for the past 20 years. Like, don't take my golf course away. And so you have a lot of different competing perspectives within the community that also come up against the financial aspects of maintaining a golf course is very expensive.
Sure. Literally just watering the grass at a golf course, like financially, but like the drain on that natural resource. It's crazy to me that forest preserves are down for golf courses. Yeah. That is such an ecological disturbance.
All the fertilizer
and a drain on resources. It's crazy to me that those two things are aligned ever.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of wind out of our sails, which I know is an expression I say way too often. That Kevin had put all this work in. How could they ignore all this good stuff? And at a certain point, I think we realized that we needed to really get aligned with them and make sure that they knew we care about what they care about and prove that before they were going to actually pay attention to us. So at some point we got a meeting with, Jackie, who was like the experiential learning person at the Forest Preserves. And she was kind enough to listen in that initial meeting. And she was like, I like the idea of bringing disc golf to some of our sites for like temporary experiences for people. And I was like, we can work with that. The way we laid it out was we think disc golf is aligned with what you guys are aligned with. Getting people outside, active, healthy, spending time in green, open spaces. That's all good for your health, for the community. So how do we start to, do things together? And so we took her enthusiasm to like a traveling type of like disc golf experience thing. And we were like, all right, so let's do a series of tournaments. And at some point, the idea clicked that like, let's make each event named after an endangered species in Cook County, because that's another big thing that forest preserves exist for, is preserving the natural wildlife and all that.
Such an awesome concept. If I haven't told you a million times, I loved that you guys were doing that.
And that was Alex being proactive too, because we wanted to think we were like partnering with them, but candidly at this point we were just like getting a permit to do an event. Totally. But Alex was just being like really persistent to get a foot in the door. So he was like, you know what, they might not even look at this right now, but like when they do, they'll know that we're putting their interests, like we're lining those.
Yeah, we're not just some like soccer team that wants to rent out their field to play soccer in. Like,
how it clicked for me when I realized that we had paid for the permits for these events and they were still not listening to us, not responding to emails, dragging their feet on everything. And I was like, we're running events on their property. We're paying them for the permits and they still don't give a shit. So how do we get them to kind of have to make them pay attention?
Yeah.
And even after running 3 different tournaments with all, like, we aligned on their branding, we aligned on their mission. We like, here's the messaging we're going to use for the tournament. Is this okay? And they would like take 3 weeks and get back to us and be like, yeah, that's fine.
And we're talking about now last year, right?
Yeah.
When you guys first did this, and it was at what forest preserves last year?
We landed on.
So we did Rolling Knolls, Busey Woods and Schaumburg, and St. Paul Woods, which is like, I forget the town, a little north of the city.
Niles.
Niles, yeah.
So they're all right on the edge of the city.
I think the cool thing about that too was when we first started talking to the forest preserves, they were like, oh yeah, there's some other people that have reached out about disc golf. And they were kind of cagey about telling us who and how, when we were like, oh, you're already working with other people. Like, let us know, we'd work with them. And they were kind of thinking like, probably thinking back to like soccer leagues who compete over the same space. And we're like, no, we had to convince them that disc golf is like, no, we all have the same mission.
It's a brotherhood.
It is. So we're like, finally convinced them. And that's when we got in touch with Danielle and Jake, who Danielle had already been working on the St. Paul course. And she and her fiance had been out there like walking Frank, and they've been designing a course and doing all this and reaching out like, hey, this would be a great place for disc golf. And Jake had been doing the same thing in Busey. So that's kind of how those properties were decided, really, was that Rolling Knolls already has a course. That was obvious. Right. And the other two were really kind of fueled by people who independently also reached out that we got in touch with. And we said, let's work together. I remember I think the first time we all met in person, we went to Delwood in like December or January and played a winter round and just kind of talked like, hey, what do you guys want to do with the Forest Preserve? Like, can we work together? This is cool. And we aligned and we said, let's do this series. Let's all work together. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. And I think it also was like really important for trying to figure out how to scale out our organization too. Because year one with the expo, it was just like, holy shit, we have so much stuff to do. And we were just all doing everything at all times. But like when we think of our long-term vision of like wanting to make the sport more accessible everywhere in Chicagoland, like we can't be everywhere. Yeah. So like this was our first step of like having a couple of folks that were like, hey, I live in this area. I'm passionate about this course. If we could get something in, I would be the one to run leagues here. So yeah, it was our first step of expanding our board. And I think we'll parallel into our vision long term too.
Those events could not have happened without Danielle and Frank and Jake. We were trying to figure out what's the like coolest way for everyone to be involved and like have a stake in this. Basically, we're like, all right, well, we're gonna do this 3 series, these 3 tournament series. Why don't you be a TD for this one? You be a TD for that one, and you kind of drive a lot of the stuff, and we'll make sure everything's on track and everything. Danielle and Frank handled the course design at St. Paul, and it was really, really cool. Jake and you ended up collaborating on Busey. Yeah. People ask all the time if that's coming back. Like, people really had a great time with that event.
Yeah, and let's not forget Nick. I forget exactly how, but it was at this time that we got in touch with Nick too.
Yeah, and Nick should be here.
I know,
it kills me.
He TD'd the event at Knowles. He was supposed to be here tonight, but couldn't. But I forget exactly how, but that's about the time he came into the fold.
Yeah, he was like,
and got really involved. Yeah.
He was just about it from day one, and he's like just kept offering to help with things and was doing shit and walked the walk. And then we were like instantly like, this dude is awesome. Like, we need to bring him in more. And since he got involved, he's been so smart and organized, and he takes on so much work, and he was a TD for the Heinz Emerald Dragonfly Open last year. He's doing it again this year, driving a lot of the work. He should be here now. I don't know if something popped up, so we unfortunately can't be on. But definitely Nick deserves a ton of credit for what we've been doing with the Forest Preserves. The point that I kind of got derailed from was even after running 3 tournaments with things that we thought they cared about, they still were barely paying attention to us. So I don't even remember. I was like, why don't we start? I saw they posted about needing volunteers. Why don't we try to use our events to get volunteers to sign up to volunteer for the Forest Preserves? We got one person who handles volunteers at the Forest Preserves to come out to one of our events. She had a little table. She was getting volunteers to sign up. We made a part of your check-in process. Get your players pack, and then talk to her at the end of this thing. Yep. She came away from it with a bunch of new names. Then she introduced us to somebody else at the Forest Preserves, and we kind of worked our way up to...
I think we kind of pivoted from that to Midlothian pretty quickly and doing the league out there. I think you had the idea. You had just moved and said, well, we have this relationship.
We had to keep something going.
Yeah, let's keep something going. So let's do a pop-up league at Midlothian Meadows just to keep some engagement. I think
the prerequisite, though, is that only if you guys are going to give a shit. I don't want to just get a permit and do this thing again. But if we can talk about a partnership where this is a Forest Preserve program Like, you're going to add this to your programming. We're already doing shit with you guys.
Yeah.
Let us put on a program together that you guys partially own. Like, we're not buying permits to run events. This is considered Forest Reserve programming. At that point, they were starting to listen, and they started to get excited about, like, they were like, can we put this in our brochures? And we're like, yes. Come on! Yes, please. I've been waiting for that response.
Yeah.
That league went well. And in the course of, like, I was every week sending pictures of the group photo. Hey, leagues are still going well. We had 25 people come out this week, ranging in age from 12 to 75. Like, disc golf's for everyone. People want this.
Right.
Just checking in again.
God bless John Cleveland.
And Bob Pitlock. I was like,
he gives us that 75 demographic.
They don't need to know how many people were 75, but I was like, yeah, we checked these demographics and these demographics. And Bob and John came to like every one of those league events, by the way.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
They're amazing.
So they got to a point where they were like, what else can we do with disc golf? We like what you guys are doing now. We're listening. And then they
put a course in the ground.
Ideally, and we started to get more
done,
candid about that.
You know, I thought about this coming from the trip in Wisconsin, where in Madison and Milwaukee counties, you're buying a county pass, and it gives you access to all these county parks. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about looking into the contacts up there and information that they could send to you that you could pass along to Cook County or to the forest preserves?
Reaching out to like other counties?
Yeah, that are already doing it, and what those revenue streams look like and how they're allocating those funds. And because it's not too far away. I mean,
right.
Milwaukee and Madison. It's just a thought that I had when we were on the trip. I was like, it made me think about how perfect, we're always talking about pay to play course option and what does it look like. And they're doing it successfully up in those counties and have been for a long time. And I think what you guys are doing is a perfect scenario where that could be just kind of take this model and plug it in.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. From working with the forest preserves, like that's kind of where we started with the golf course. And like, here's how this can make you money.
Yeah.
Right. The course will pay for itself. It'll do this. It kind of fell on deaf ears. And I think the progress we've made has been focusing more on programming. How do we get people into the parks? Like you got to Midlothian Meadows. I went to that league and like, there's no one there.
Nobody.
There's no one there.
No one.
So Alex just saying, hey, we ran this league. We got this many people to show up and we're out here using this space, I think got them excited. And I think that's a great idea. We have talked to them about other, I think Milwaukee, Cleveland, Detroit, other areas that have similar, Columbus, that have similar park districts with disc golf courses integrated into some of the county and metro parks.
I think they even brought that idea to us. They were like, we know the Columbus area or whatever is using disc, like they're getting good results or whatever with disc golf. So we want to look at, can we do similar things? And we're getting, messages all the time from other people who want to do disc golf stuff. At this point, we would like you guys to be like the de facto disc golf partner. So whenever somebody reaches out to us about disc golf, we point them to you. They had just gotten this big grant. And they wanted to do things with it. Disc golf was on their radar from all the people that have been reaching out. They liked what we were doing with Midlothian, and they were like, we're excited about it now. We want to invite you to, there was two things. We want to invite you to our community events where we have these big events and we just want to offer programming, and disc golf could be something that we offer like in addition to these existing events, but also we need someone to do the market research, which brings me back to probably that's how they approached the golf course situation at first. They probably thought of us as a similar thing, and they were like, we'd be willing to pay you for the market research process if necessary, but we need you guys to help us figure out where is disc golf possible, and what does that all look like? Like, we need to gather data, and we have funds, we want to do something, we need you guys to help us figure out what that's going to look like.
Yeah,
that's so crazy to me to think that credibility was based on whether or not you were getting paid to do the work.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it goes to show, like, I think everyone out there looking to put in a course and trying to do this type of thing with whatever your local organization is or your local park district, you have to find what speaks to them, because like I said, we first came into this with like, hey, money. You can make a bunch of money. You can sell discs, you can sell beers, you can sell food, you can have greens fees, and people will rent carts, and like, here's the revenue you can make, and fell on deaf ears. But then once we started working with programming, just getting people into the parks, once they got, there's like as Alex mentioned, there was like a tax increase referendum that passed, and now they had a little bit more funding. They came to us willing to pay us to do research. So, I mean, clearly our original approach was, how can we make you money? It's not what they cared about. Yeah. They cared about let's get people into the parks. How can we align on mutual missions and get people out using these parks and things that align with the mission of their organization? Not to say that's the answer everywhere, but I think that's the key, is figuring out the parks district, the county parks district, the city parks district, whoever you're working with, what are their objectives, and try to align to that and figure out how you partner with that and align to that with your proposals versus just coming in with what you assume they might want to hear. It might not be the right answer.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think let this be an example as going and asking or talking to your parks departments or taking the first step. The first no that you get is never a real no. You see how long it took you guys, months and years to really get noticed. Like, how many people have started that and gotten turned away and immediately said, oh, well, this is impossible.
So it's understandable, man. It's
Persistence is the key. Yeah.
I know that it took Dana a super long time to
He
get
said
Rolling
about
Knolls
6 years to get Rolling Knolls.
Yeah.
Super long.
Yeah, and I think so much of it is not talking about disc golf, but showing them. I mean, I work in sales. I focus so much in my day-to-day job on putting things in the customer's language. And I was trying to do that instead of using all these disc golf terms, talking about what the benefits are, what the space is, etc. And I don't think they really understood how much we cared, but also what the sport can be until we showed them. We went out to the first event, shout out to Circle One, who showed up to help out. But having dozens of kids come through for that one, and then the second one that I was at, it was basically at a forest preserve property. They gave us a ton of space, basically half a football field. We were alongside a library stand that was set up, and then there was an obstacle course nearby. But we had probably over 100 kids. They had buses that showed up, and so many kids showed up, and it was crazy. Nick and I trying to keep all these. They were mostly probably 4 or 5 years old, but the people at the forest preserves that are decision makers, they stopped by, they saw us educating the kids, how much fun they were having, how easy it was to pick up. That's what fires me up. I feel very passionately that it can be a sport for anyone. It's accessible in terms of cost. It's so easy to learn, but it's one thing for me to convey that on the phone. But when you take that extra effort of being hey, we care about your community. We're here. Let's do stuff together. It was right around the same time we got that baller email where they were hey, y'all want to do research? That's when we knew they were serious.
Yeah. The storytelling aspect of it is key too, because like you said, if you don't see it in person, how are you going to know? So at the last event, luckily Eric and Nick were so good with teaching the kids, because I was not. I felt very awkward doing it. So I was like, come on, I'm going to get my camera out and I'm going to make a video instead. So I made a video, and then it was unprompted. They didn't ask me to do this, but I put Forest Reserve branding on it and use it to tell the story of what the event was. Not that this was a disc golf event. Here's what the Forest Reserves are doing, and disc golf was part of it. Yeah. And next thing I know, there's a few key people in the Forest Reserves sharing it on LinkedIn. Those are the professional. I mean, LinkedIn is the freaking worst social media platform, but if it's going to help us get things done, sure. If it's going to help us tell our story to the right people, amazing.
Yeah. If you make it seem like it might have been their idea all along.
Butter them up a little.
Yeah. So, we have another event we're doing with them on the 23rd. I forget what it's called. I'm sorry to say that, but there's going to be 3,000 to 4,000 people there, and we're going to have a little disc golf section set up, a little kids course with 3 holes. We'll be teaching, seeing kids run up to the table, grab a disc, and then just run off to go. They don't even know what sport. They don't know what they're doing. They're just excited to play this new thing. Yeah. Very cool to see it at the last event. I'm super excited about the next one. And they have 3 more events this year that they want us to be at. And ultimately what we're at with the proposal at this stage is they want us to deliver a proposal by, I think, May of next year, so that so disc golf can be part of their budget for 2024. So it's tell us where, what are the sites, and what is the programming, and what is we want to understand all the potential and your recommendations, so we can assess whether this is something that's going to be put into our budget, and sort of what are the outcomes going to look like. Yeah. So that's where, Kevin's a professional market research. Kevin's a G, by the way, when it comes to market research. I found out how much money Kevin made a couple months ago. I was like, Jesus Christ, he's even smarter than I thought. It's been so cool in these meetings to be hey, we're not just shithead disc golfers. We got some credentials here. Yeah. And how are you approaching the market research?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is being professional and looking buttoned up too, like you were leading to. We don't want to just be hey, we're some guys that want to put on a disc golf course and we like playing disc golf, or some random club. Is really buttoning it up, coming to them with a proposal, with a plan. Everything looks like it's really well thought out. So the first meeting they had where they approached us, it was kind of like one of those like pinch me moments. I can't believe this is happening. Like we had the call with Jackie. She's like, yeah, we told us they had this budget increase and we're thinking about putting a course in and they want to hire us to do market research. And we were just like, what?
You weren't responding to my emails like a few months ago.
And now like she's very serious about like, oh yeah, there's this budget proposal that we want to put in a year from now. And like, here's what we're thinking. And you tell us like, how can you do market research? So we stepped away from that call. Like, holy shit, like this is serious. We sent out a survey. We got some input from local disc golfers, Cook County disc golfers, neighboring disc golfers, put all that together, bundled it with, I think, a very professional looking like PowerPoint presentation of here's our approach to a course. Here's what's important, safety and environmental factors and layout. And like, here's how we would approach looking at a property, and a 5 kind of point plan on that involved engaging the communities around sites that we potentially do, hosting pop-up events to further gauge interest. And went back and presented that to them with insights around, from our survey, we found out that players in Cook County play significantly less frequently than those in neighboring counties. Surprise, right? Players
when you
in
think
Cook
about
County,
how many people live in Chicago,
yeah,
that's like such an influential piece, because if you go just south of the city, I bet there's way more active disc golfers playing than most of the other neighboring counties, I would imagine. But since Chicago people make up such a big part of Cook County, that skews the data in a very meaningful way.
Yeah, and surprise, surprise, players in Cook County drive further to play. We had some questions around how often would you play a new course if it was within 20 minutes of your house or 40 minutes of your house, and put all that together. But one of the coolest questions was we just asked people, what matters the most for you for a new course? And we gave them a few options. And I was shocked to see the number one answer was that it's integrated with nature and natural beauty. That's over a challenging layout, nice tee pads, nice baskets, easy to get to. Like that was number one, was they wanted something that had natural beauty and was integrated with nature and like felt like they were outside kind of in a forest preserve. So that was like a really compelling data point and story to bring back to the forest preserves after they'd already shown us, we're pretty serious, we want to do this. So we came back not just with some half-baked idea, but like we had already done a survey. We had done market research. We came back with key results. We came back with a 5-point plan that encompassed now through next May. We came back with the criteria we want. And we had an hour meeting with some of the more senior people than we'd ever met with before. Like the person we met with, like, we're going to forward this to a few people. And we had some, like the head of land use and some pretty senior people show up. And I think that meeting went surprisingly well. They were very aligned, very receptive of our message. And where we're at now is they're sending us a list of properties they think might be good for a potential site. We're doing the same, assessing it. And we have a plan where over the next couple of months, we're going to try to find a few forest reserves that would be a good fit for disc golf, that would be a good fit for them. We'll try to assess them. We'll try to say, okay, what might work, what might not. And then over the winter, do some local community outreach and engagement to see how the residents around those areas feel, potentially do some pop-up events in the spring, and then get a proposal together to say, hey, here's what we think disc golf in Cook County should look like from a very thorough and informed approach. Mm-hmm. And here's what it would take to build a course, and put the ball in their court to see, all right, can we fund this? Can we not?
I want to call out a very funny moment in that meeting, because I asked Dana to join. He's the course designer of the one disc golf course on a forest reserve property, and he's a professional designer. He's like the most credentialed person we could possibly bring to the meeting. And I was like, does anybody know who Dana is? No. Nobody realized that the guy who designed their one disc golf course was on the call. I was like, so if we do something, just so you know, we have the guy that you already worked with, and he's a professional at this. It was just a funny moment to me that, like, they do have a course, and they, like, nobody on the call knew, like, how it got there or who was involved.
Yeah, the one guy was was vaguely familiar with the process, remembered it happened, but like, it was like,
I was gonna say that was also always their excuse early on. We're like, hey, maybe we could do activities at other parks, maybe get more courses, and they're like, well, Knowles is a thing, right?
Like, we already have Rolling Knolls.
We have Rolling Knolls. What else do you need?
You just need one, right?
Yeah,
one's fine.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with the forest reserves and the proposal right now. There's still ways to go, but it feels like there's no looking back at this point. We see they're coming to us at this point asking what else can we do, and the trust is there. So we're all very encouraged, and I don't want to say that I can see a light at the end of the tunnel, but I can like imagine the light at the end of the tunnel now. We're really.
I think coming out of like going back to the amount of time and effort we put into that like golf course proposal 2 years ago when they were actually assessing what should we do with these properties? What we're doing here isn't working, and they're perfect disc golf properties, and then it falling on deaf ears. That was a little deflating, but we kept the relationship going. And now to get that phone call to say, we want you to be the disc golf contacts. If anyone else asks about disc golf, we're going to send them to you. We want to hire you to do market research and potentially put a course in the ground. And we want you to like navigate us through what that should look like. It's surreal to look at how that journey went and how that persistence paid off.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
It is very cool, Sean. You're right. All right, I want us to get to get everybody else back into the conversation. There's one more piece about Disc Golf Chicago that I really want us to shed some light on before we get to like mailbag stuff, and that's getting disc golf into schools, because that's this whole other parallel thing that we're working on, and Eric has really been driving all of that. That's like his baby. I don't want to spend 20 minutes on it, but like
you have 3 minutes.
No, just talk to us a little bit about like what that even means, getting disc golf into schools, and what are you doing?
When I think of growing the sport, like it starts with kids. Like it's that simple. Like that is the future of disc golf. When I think of growing the sport, like it also starts with kids too. If kids are playing it, their parents are going to be like, hey, what are you guys doing? What are you up to? They'll naturally have fun. So that's kind of why this focus came to be for me, is like thinking of the future of the sport. But anyways, so yeah, when we had our board meeting at the beginning of this year, we were thinking, okay, last year was crazy. We all did all this stuff, but like, what do we all actually want to focus on? And that's like, for me, I was like, I would love to get like actual programming going. So my goal for this year was to just do one thing. I was like, I don't know what is realistic. Like if we can just like test some stuff out, let's do it. So we ended up doing 3 different things so far this year. The first of which was with Ryan Braun. He teaches at Hunter Perkins, which is Southside-ish, kind of close to like 50 acre. But anyways, I got introduced to him from Michael Tooney. Shout out. He always came to our dubs.
Oh, yeah.
But he was like, hey, my friend's a teacher. He's really interested in starting a club at his school. So I was like, that'd be a really cool thing. Like if we could figure out how to help someone get a club started at their school, kind of build that blueprint. And then if other folks ever reach out being like, hey, how do we start a club? Like we can have that resource on our website. Yeah. And that's kind of part of our long-term vision for Disc Golf Chicago as well, is like being connectors to like help other people grow too. Totally. Whether it's Chicagoland or other areas as well. But yeah, anyways, thanks again, Sean, for the baskets. Like we had baskets for him to use, which he still has to this day at his school. Awesome. Thanks to our relationship with Dana, we were able to get them like a discount on some discs as well, which he's able to use as a fundraiser. But yeah, he's been running a club at his school, which we were like very happy to support. So that was the first one. The second, so Alex's friend, Aaron, what is it? The dean?
He's a dean of electives at a high school that's part of a network of high schools that has like 17. It's like a charter network.
The Noble Charter District.
So there's like 17 other high schools in this network. So I was like, if we can get into this one school, it could spiderweb out to 17 other schools that are all in Chicago, like on the south side. So awesome opportunity. Cool.
Yeah. So Alex introduced me to Aaron. It was really cool because Aaron and I both live in Oak Park. And Aaron's school is in the Austin neighborhood, which is like literally 5 blocks east of me. But anyways, yeah. So Danielle, Alex, and I all went to his school, ITW David Spear, in the Austin neighborhood. And we taught 2 different 11th grade classes in one day. Literally not one kid had heard of disc golf. 70 or 80 people there. It was like a blast. And we had a follow-up meeting with their athletic director. And something that's cool that they do is within their charter district of thousands of students, they have their own like cup. So it has, of course, their traditional sports like football, basketball, etc. But they want to start having more like experiential things that aren't just like we play sports. So
the language from the guy, I forget his name, but he was like, we want more white sports for our students. I said we want more white activities, which is why one of the most recent activities they added to the cup was chess.
Yeah, that's where it started.
They wanted to,
that's what we get.
Give more. But like we talked about this on a previous episode, and I was like, we've got the perfect thing for you.
Gosh. But yeah, in that follow-up meeting, though, he was like, yo, I could totally see this being a potential long-term, including this in the cup. So like, let's figure out how to get this into one school. We'll need to have a staff sponsor, but whether that's PE or club, eventually we want this to be a competitive thing. All goes well, we can expand it to other schools. So now that's like a whole new opportunity. We now have elementary and then this. And then the third opportunity I did was with Ryan Aquino.
Who?
Hope the Disc Golf Digest guy.
That guy from Disc Golf Digest.
Yeah.
He's not the Keno.
He's just a
Keno.
Just one of them Kenos. Yeah. So his kid goes to Ravenswood Elementary, and Ryan came at us with the idea of like, hey, what if we just did disc golf on a Saturday? So he came out. Also, shout out to Devin Hernandez.
Oh, yeah.
And then Rob Gross, who came out. So that was my first time meeting Rob. He used to teach Ultimate, and he was like the greatest instructor. To anyone who's teaching disc golf to kids, this was like the best thing I learned from him. He told the kid, he was like, hey, do you like pancakes? And the kids were like, yeah, we love pancakes. And he's like, okay, so imagine this is a pancake. And now we're going to take some syrup and we're going to pour it on it. And he was like, imagine, what if I tilted this pancake? What would happen? All the kids were like, oh, the syrup would fall off. And he was like, exactly. We don't want that. Keep the syrup on there. So like, that's how he taught the kids to like not throw.
I'm stealing that, by the way.
Yeah. Amazing.
Don't lose your syrup.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really cool to have their support. But yeah, we had like probably like 20, 30 kids ranging from like pre-K to like third grade that came out, and all their parents. On a Saturday. And it was just like in their play area, but it was really well received from the principal. Ryan hit us up recently and was like, hey, they want to like include disc golf in their fall programming alongside like soccer and music, like a few other activities. And also, if this goes well, she's down to like try and advocate for us to get it into other Chicago public schools as an offering.
So the really key thing about that is to become a vendor in the Chicago public schools is a very difficult process. Supposedly it takes a very long time. To have a principal from one of their schools like be your sponsor and advocate for you, all of a sudden you go from like this very long process to being on, now you're on a list that now
you're made.
Yes, literally you are on a list that can work with every Chicago public school because you have one school vouching for you. So shout out to Aquino. I mean, that went from like a fun thing we could do on a Saturday to
which Keno? Shout out to Aquino.
You know the one I'm talking about.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it went from like a fun thing to like, this might be the lever that gets disc golf into lots of Chicago public schools.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So the path from here is like, to anyone listening that's in Chicagoland that wants to help with this stuff, my vision is basically to have people like Ryan that are passionate about this stuff in their neighborhood. I see this long term fulfilling two things. One, just building the grassroots support for disc golf. If we have more kids and their parents playing disc golf, that will grow the demand. And also everyone's playing disc golf, especially in Chicago. They may not be a traditional like 6-hole course. It could be like what Hyde Park Disc Golf is doing. Shout out to Tommy and Hyde Park Disc Golf. But that's how they grew it in the South Side, was like, let's have a practice basket in a park or a couple of practice baskets. But yeah, that's the vision. Grow the demand, get people playing the sport. And then when it comes time for us to ask for courses, it's like, hey, look at all these families that want to play this and are already enjoying it. Let's get them a legit course.
So that's Disc Golf Chicago for you.
That's awesome.
You guys are killing it. Seriously, it's inspiring. I'm fired up. I love it.
I love that you love it. Yeah, but to echo Eric's sentiment, if you guys are listening and you want to see, how can I get involved? We can take volunteers at our Forest Preserve events. We need help teaching and just wrangling kids. If you want to, bring disc golf to your kids' school. If you know somebody at the school, shoot us a message. We would, be happy to try to set up a meeting. Whatever you think you might be able to do to help. It's a lot of work for a few people that have full-time jobs and are getting married, or, all the things that we do. Like, we could use additional hands. We are super grateful for all the volunteers that we already have, but many hands make light work. So we would love to hear from you. This is the longest ever on an episode that I haven't heard a word from Jason. So
sorry.
I'm dying. Can we get into the mailbag?
We sure can.
I think that means it's
you have to do it like 3 or 4 times, just like the last episode. So however you need to work that out.
Okay, I feel like I'm gonna screw it up now that you
just naturally.
Let's have Sheila do the mail. Can I get the Sheila to do the when you do mail time is the very best version of it.
That's for special occasions.
Right. Yeah. All right, we'll save it.
That's for Terry Miller.
I'm gonna try and do Sheila doing mail time.
There you go. Yeah.
Mail time.
That's damn near perfect. Yeah. My God. Yeah.
Mail time.
No, I'm not even gonna follow that.
Do it. All right, let me do it for real.
Okay.
Mail time.
Mail time.
Mail time.
Mail time.
Mail time.
Good job.
Excellent.
All right. Very good.
That was saucy. Before we get into it, I do want to mention something earlier. When you said you had the funny story about Dana being on the call and nobody knowing who he is, thought the funny story was going to be that someone was going to be like, wait, Dana, the famous tightrope walker?
The circus guy?
Yeah, the circus guy?
Wait, do you mean Dane?
Yeah.
Dane of
that would have been
Eugene?
very funny to me. All right. With that being said, let's jump into our mailbag. I got a couple via Instagram, so we're going to start there. Ed Radakovitz slid into our DMs and had a comment that he wanted us to talk about. How about some discussion around the growing age-protected scene in our area and how it's just going to continue to grow with experienced and new players? Thanks.
Before we answer that, I have to shout out Ed Radakovitz and his wife, Colleen, that gifted Sheila and I 2 tickets to the Australian Pink Floyd concert that happened at the Rialto. What night was that? Wednesday night? It was amazing. I could close my eyes and I felt like I was at a Pink Floyd concert. It was absolutely outstanding.
Do you like Pink Floyd?
Love Pink Floyd.
I've heard.
Yes.
Shout out to Ed also for generously giving me a DGA bucket hat. He is.
Oh, cool.
We still wearing bucket hats? Is that a thing?
I haven't worn very many this year, but I have been wearing boonie hats a lot this year. It's just a slight difference.
Different.
Boonie
Nice.
hat. Is
Different.
that
It's like the fisherman type hat.
that's my
yeah,
go-to.
that's the vibe this
Didn't
year.
know the name.
So Ed's concern is the growing age-protected divisions, and is there like a problem to it, or?
He just wants to know how it's going to continue to grow with experienced new players. So he just wants us to kind of have a discussion around the growing age-protected scene in our area.
That's the funny thing about getting older is
It
everybody does it.
Yeah.
And the number of players that there are today versus 20 years ago is completely different. So,
Right.
you know, those 70 and 8, like those super age protected divisions right now, where you get John and Bob, that's the whole division. It might look very different.
5 years. Yeah, it'll be
Well,
totally
if you
different.
think about maybe not MA4 as much, but MA3, MA2, MA1, all of those guys, when they reach 40, have the option.
Yeah.
So there's a good portion of them that are going to move to MA40.
Sure.
And that's just going to continue to grow until we're going to have to run tournaments that are
like the conversation we've
very-
had with every division that is small and or wants more spots. As those spots fill, utilize those wait lists. Come to the TDs in numbers and represent what you're looking for, and those divisions will absolutely grow. I mean, we just had that conversation with Shani and MP40, and I'm not going to talk about the thing that really pisses me off about it, but people signed up. And they
Smells like
came
beef.
out and they filled the spots, and there was more on the wait list, and then I gave them more spots, and there was more on the wait list, and now they're up to 16 where I was giving them 4. And it's because somebody from the community gathered them all up, as we've always asked them to do, and got them to fulfill the spots in the division. So that's the thing that I have to say to that is, if you want it, sign up for it. Don't look at a tournament and say, oh, there's only 4 spots, or oh, that division's not available. Reach out. Get the people together, make a voice,
which actually happens,
and you will be heard
frequently in the women's divisions.
Yeah.
If there is not a division available, or there are not spots readily available, or it doesn't seem like it, the women reach out immediately and say,
Totally.
hey, there isn't this, or there aren't enough, or I would like, or anything. And they're all very cordial and cool about it.
Yep.
They're just like, hey, we need more. And guess what happens?
They get what they want
Yeah.
every time.
That's all it takes.
Say a less direct suggestion is get your kids playing disc golf, because as someone who's getting close to MA40, I never thought I would be wanting to play in it potentially, but now when I go play in MA1, I get my ass kicked by 15-year-olds all the time.
You come play with
I
us now.
cannot wait for MA40. So that pressure from the bottom
It's
is going to
so much
start
fun.
kicking people up.
It's so much more fun.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Can we call this episode Pressure from the Bottom?
I actually
We can now.
plays because that's like our path with the Forest Reserve. I'm
Pressure
very
from
on board
the
with
bottom.
that.
Shirt
that
idea,
name.
right there down.
Toilet humor.
All right, our next question comes from Tom Samborski. So now that we know the aliens are real, how soon should we expect them on the Pro Tour, and would they have their own division?
I was going to say, here's a funnier topic since Tom's is not that funny. Who on tour is
Ouch, Tom.
who on tour is already an alien, and it's going to come out that person's an alien?
Gannon.
Yes.
Gannon Burr,
Yes.
Calvin Heimberg.
Calvin
for sure.
Heimberg,
He's a
for
robot.
sure.
I don't know if he's
Yeah,
alien
he's not
robot.
an alien.
He is just
He
mechanical.
is a cyborg.
Ganon straight up looks like, you know, in Signs where the alien walks across the He literally has the same physique.
You see it for the first time.
Yeah.
I get chills, man.
Yeah.
If a praying mantis was converted into a human, that's what he looks like.
Yeah.
And to answer their question, yes, they would have their own division. Well, there's actually going to be two. There's going to be AAO and AA1000 because that'll be the age protected one since the alien that was revealed.
Yes,
clever.
good one.
Yeah, that was very
Nice.
good. And you should have laughed, you sons of bitches. But we're going to move on to our next question.
Once you explained it.
I also have an alien one. Do you want to do that?
Do that one now,
Okay.
yeah.
So we have a question via our email, which is, let me start over.
Jeez, what are you, Alex
Try again.
Seminary?
Here, you know what? We also have a question via email. You can reach out, mailbag@unstablediscourse.com.
You got it.
That doesn't do anything, by the way.
Oh, Ryan turned a knob on the mixer, and I thought he turned my mic off.
I made it look like I did. No! Yeah. Nicholas Dwyer says, hello all. I've noticed that there are 2 new discs with extraterrestrial names, the alien and the UFO. Trendy choices given the hearing on UAPs. The interesting thing about this is both discs were approved prior to the hearing. The alien December 2022 and the UFO April 2023. Coincidence? Or is there collusion between the government and the disc golf manufacturers? Was the growth of disc golf pre-planned to numb the public to flying saucer-like objects? Thank you for your time, Nick Dwyer. So I would like to get in a few things before the government actually redacts all of what we are going to be talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
So
The most important thing to know is going to be
And
then
there's no chance that the truth is not.
when I go to his house, he has 2 of them. A medium orgasm. Well, imagine me dragging these nuts across your. It was red all day. Like I had. Every person that walked in went like, alien ghosts are real, but they see it as a money-making opportunity. The bubbles with the smoke inside was amazing. That's why you licked your eyeball earlier. Climate change being what caused the fungus to. All right.
good. So I hope that answers your question, Nick. Yeah, keep them coming. Next,
we have an Instagram DM from Matthew Statura. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, Matt. He wants us to talk on the topic of ratings. More the fact that you have people like me that try every time to get their rating up, while others try to tank to stay within that division for the year. On short, are ratings really worth having? And he knows some pros are against them. You guys want to
I
chime
don't
in on that?
think I know of a single incidence of someone trying to tank their round. I think it is difficult enough for everyone to understand the rating system as it is. And it's also very difficult to manipulate that rating system in a way that would be advantageous other than trying to play your best and up your rating. It doesn't make any sense to me that I would pull some punches to try and stay in MA2 or something like that.
I can think of an instance. If you are...
I mean, I can think of instances in which that, like, disc golfers in general to me don't... I feel like they're striving to get better ratings to be bumped out,
Sure.
you know, and be proud of their rating.
But in the case of the Greater Joliet Tour Series, where you are locked into a division and then you are going to a finals based on said division, I think that may be what Matt is talking about.
Okay, I could see that.
And
so if your rating goes up, you have to play.
If you rate out, you rate out.
Then your points that you've accumulated
are
in the specific-
irrelevant.
Oh, so you can't win the series if your rating gets too high.
Correct.
Interesting.
So it's something that has been not a massive problem, but something that's always been in the back of my mind of like, oh, it's inevitable this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
How are we ever going to deal with it when it does? And it's just kind of one of those things. It is what it is.
Well, we've given the option for half points.
Sure. As you move up, sure.
You know, which is not much, but it's something to consider.
Yeah. But if you're on the upper half of that and then you continue to play, say, MA4 with Matt all year long, and then you rate out second to last event, and then you're just kind of hosed, it's a bummer, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but as part of the PDGA's proposed rule changes, have they addressed this, or am I just making this up, that if you start a tour series in a certain division, you can stay in it if your rating doesn't go too much above the cap as long as it's part of the tour series? Or would you support that if that was the case? Like you start out in MA3, your rating goes up a bit mid-season.
I'd have to look into that. I'm not
It's always been,
Yeah.
I believe it was TD discretion as to whether like someone signs up and then their rating goes up and rates them out of a division. TDs can allow them to,
It's usually
to
within
continue.
2 weeks of the ratings.
Yeah, but
updating.
for sure.
TD can overrule that in
Yep.
some capacities. I don't know what the exact ruling is about that because it's always been pretty obvious and cut and dry. But
Yeah.
we'd have to look that up.
Well, it's tough to tank too, because if you play too bad, it doesn't count. If
Right.
you're below
Yeah.
100 rating points or 2.5 standard deviations, the round doesn't count. So
I
are
couldn't
you going to
imagine-
do that math on the course that here's how I think I'm playing. If I miss 2 putts, I'm going to play low enough of a rating that it's going to bring me down. But if I miss 3 putts, now my rating's so low that it doesn't count anyway, and I just wasted my time. I don't think it happens a lot.
That's evil genius shit.
And
Who comes to
I mean,
mind?
calculating a rating for the round while you're playing is damn near impossible unless you're the last tee time and you can see what everyone else has played. You know, but I just don't think it's rampant enough to worry about.
After playing the what was the Zephyr event, Superclass Sunday, I had so much damn fun throwing my Zephyr that for a few weeks at our sanctioned league, I was throwing my Zephyr mostly and getting my ass kicked, and my rating has tanked because of it. And I'm like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm out there having a good time.
Yeah.
But now I'm also eligible to win some extra discs at Ledgestone next year, so I might play MA4. Master plan.
See, Alex is who
Evil
Matt Stitcher is
genius.
talking about.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
He asked the one person who's actually doing it.
Yeah.
We got one more question in the mailbag. This one comes from a Mr. Ryan Aquino, aka Aquino. He wants to know, why is Brody Smith,
AKA the same word I just said.
that's why I did it. I'm glad you appreciate my humor. Why is Brody Smith such a douche? What is he talking about when he says that?
Okay. Very quickly. Trophies have been notoriously.
More context before you get into that subject. Because he's referencing the debate that Dana Vici... and
getting there.
do it how I want you to do it.
Oh, man. Now, do that.
So Brody was being a douche, calling out what he called shitty trophies, basically, in big events. One specifically was a steering wheel, was the first place trophy. And what Brody didn't know was that the history of that tournament was that 50 years ago, whoever won that tournament was awarded a car, an entire car.
Oh my God.
And that steering wheel that they gave away 50 years later was a steering wheel off of the same make and model of car. So it was like
Well thought out.
very well thought out, even though the steering wheel was a trophy. And it does look kind of weird and awkward. And I got to give it to Brody. In some cases, we've sent pictures to each other where the first place trophy is a painted rock with Sharpie on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's terrible, right? And those need to be called out. But in that case, he was very wrong. So on the disc golf debate page on YouTube or whatever it
I
is,
think it's Brody's show, right?
it's
The
foundation.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
they have a disc golf debate. Dana got on there with Brody, and it was, I didn't watch all of it because I just couldn't handle it. But it was a little bit of fun played at each other, but it got serious after a minute. And Dana pretty much called him out and said, one thing he said, which I thought was very funny, is winning trophies is better than rating trophies.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great because Brody's not won any trophies since he's been on tour.
Nice.
Good dig.
But Brody has, they debated for a while. Brody has since come out and said, "Hey, everyone says I should apologize," and then he was like, "The dark horse doesn't apologize to anybody," and was kind of being Brody, right?
Yeah.
But it all comes down to bad publicity is still publicity,
Sure.
Right.
and he is
Unfortunately.
driving views no matter what he does.
Right.
And this is just going to help it out. And so he's being a douche.
In a weird way.
Yeah, he's being a douche, but he's got a direction that he's going in. And whether we like it or not, that's going to continue. I don't really think he's a douche. I'm not pro or con Brody Smith. I don't really care either way.
Yeah.
But what he's doing is driving people to play disc golf. You got to give it to him.
You got to tip your hat to the guy who's built the biggest social media following of any disc golfer ever.
Yeah.
Like that's why his name is what it is. Like you said, he's never won it. He's not who he is because he's killing the game. He's just the best marketer of himself. And so what he's doing is definitely strategic.
Well, I think that what, Dana's frustrations come from, a lot of the frustrations that a lot of people identify with Brody is that, like, we grew here, you flew here.
Yeah.
There are people that have put in decades into the sport. I don't care how many followers you have, man, on YouTube. You can't just come out and start swinging your dick around and talking shit about everything. Like, that's just not how the world works. You're not going to get respect from the people that you really need to get respect from when you do things like that. I respect the hell out of Dana. I think he's a great guy. He's one of the pillars in our disc golf community, and he made a great point. The thing that I like, I don't dislike Brody. I just don't like his approach. What bothers me about him is that I just don't feel like he's one of us, and he won't ever try to be, because he's never trying to understand why things are the way they are. He's just talking shit about how they are. Instead of just ever being, he's never run, to my knowledge, never run an event. Sheila,
talk about how he doesn't even know where trophies come from.
Correct. Yeah. So during that debate, one of the things that Sheila and I were kind of throwing our hands up in the air about was the fact that he wasn't even sure on how it all worked. And talking about the World's Trophy from last year and saying that it looked like a third grade art project or what have you. And not knowing that
he was blaming the PDGA for it.
Yeah. And not knowing that, at least in our experience, having been a Silver Series with DGPT, it's not like the DGPT came to us and said, okay, and what's your plan for trophies, and what's your budget, and what are you doing, and what's it made of, or what does it look like? These weren't questions that were being asked. So I can only assume
they weren't even considerations.
That at Worlds, where it's just a little bit larger of a stage, but the same thing, because our sport is so grassroots, which Brody always forgets about, is that there's a group of people just like the three of you that were just talking about the thing that you were moving forward, making these tournaments happen and making these decisions and coming up with these ideas to say, hey, we're really stoked about a steering wheel. So, and he didn't even take the time to know about the story. So that it's really aggravating. I mean, I get what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, and it's working. Unfortunately, I don't like that it works, because I don't want more young men and women that are getting into the sport to think that you just get involved and start swinging your dick and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, instead of knowing the story.
Sure.
So that's just very aggravating to me.
I don't think he demands respect, because I don't think he considers that he needs any more respect. It's not a thing where he's looking for validation, because he's one of those guys that has been validated his entire career through Ultimate and through all of his YouTube followings and all of that.
Sure.
So he's just now an authority in his mind, and he's just telling it like it is.
Not for me.
Yeah,
right.
In his mind, he's God's gift to disc golf.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case, but along those lines, yes. And what Sean said was, he is not one of us. He can be. He has been for 4 years. He's been on tour. He's been working through it. He's been making videos in the Discraft warehouse, picking out discs and doing everything that all the other pro disc golfers have been doing. He is a disc golfer. Now, he's on tour. He's doing all of it, but yet it's him and us, and it's not all of us.
Yes.
I don't know if he's a douche, but he sure acts like it sometimes, and unfortunately it works. So
I will supplement this by saying that we saw Brody in person when we all went to Ledgestone, and he was interacting with the kids, he was interacting with the fans, and he was being really awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
he was here. And he was doing the same thing.
Yeah, when he was here for Clash, when it was a Silver Series, he was great. He was fine.
So I would just call out that as a human, he seems pretty great to me. But anything he's doing with this debate and anything else,
his social media persona might be a little
just marketing.
I don't think it's helping as much as he thinks it's going to help.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't even understand how it got there in the first place.
I think he's just driven to get views and build his brand, and he's doing that very well.
That means I'm going to pull the string and close the satchel that is tonight's mailbag.
Well, that's a thing.
Is that a zipper?
That was the sound,
or it was his butt. We can't tell. Either way,
pull rope fast, it makes that little sound.
Yep.
That's a nice place to put a wrap on it. So thank you, everybody who submitted your questions in the mailbag, whether you did it on Facebook or our email. We always love those, and want to encourage you guys to keep doing that.
We're still looking for more audio mailbag questions.
For sure.
You're not going to beat Mr. Joey 3-Putt
Nope. But I'd like to see people try for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's
It's
a
a tall
challenge.
order.
Yeah.
Tall order. You don't have to try to tell a Jolene story in your audio mailbag. Just take the question you typed up and record it and send it to us. That's
right.
That's just as
This
fun.
is an audio format. It does make it kind of fun.
But yeah, thank you guys for all your support. We love it all. And I want to say thanks to our guests, Kevin and Eric, aka Kevin, Derrick, and Eric Savoie, aka Irk and Dirk. This was a long time coming. I'm so glad we got to kind of talk about all the work you guys have been doing. It is, I don't want to say thankless, but it's so much work, and it means a lot. It's super appreciated, and it was great to have you guys here.
I second that, boys.
Yeah.
Second that.
You can definitely tell that you guys care a ton about what you're doing.
Yeah, I hope it comes through on the recording. You guys are like super passionate about this.
Yeah, you were crying the whole time too.
I love getting the
so many tissues over here.
Yeah.
Half of those are mine. Sorry.
All right, guys, this has been a blast. Thank you all for listening. So we'll catch you again on the next episode.
You bet.
Sheila's got plans in place. Mm-hmm. So until next time, keep it on the fairway.
See ya.
Y'all be good.
Later.
Peace.
Unstable Discourse is produced by Sheila Callahan. Edited by Ryan Fancher. Beats provided by Alex Seminary. And produced in association with Unstable Disc Golf Gear. Look good, feel good, play good.
I think I wanna marry you.
Unstable Discourse is a Top Secret Studios production, baby.
I lay with the best of them.